For TraderInsight.com, I'm Adrian Manns, and I'd like to provide some examples here of how I use my around-the-horn NASDAQ scalp trading service. You are looking at the setup for Cena Corporation for Tuesday, November 20th, 2012. And what we see here is we had a primary entry on this one, 48.87, with a scalp target, the initial scalp target at 48.42. We also see that the central pivot is at $49.22. That's something that we're going to want to watch because it falls just above alternate entry 1, which is 49.12, with a target on that one at 37.49. And we have alternate entry 2, 49.39, with a 49.01 target. So as you know, this NASDAQ trading service is all about using the patterns in Around the Horn, a trader's guide to consistently scoring in the markets, and applying them to a new venue. We used to just trade these on the New York Stock Exchange. Now we're also doing them on the NASDAQ. A little bit of a different entry technique. We're using some inflection points to pinpoint areas that the stock is going to reverse from during the day. I'm looking, when I set these up, at previous session support and resistance, volume weighted average price, block trading activity, institutional trading activity, as well as fib retracement zones and prior day's pivot inflection. So lots of stuff goes into figuring out where these reversals are likely to happen. And now I'd like to take a look at how these play out over the course of the day, as well as showing you what I'm looking for when I'm timing an entry on these trades. And the market is open. We've got the first 5-minute bar of the session put in already, and we see that Cena, S-I-N-A, has made a move from our Alt 2 entry price all the way down to what's the Alt 1 entry target. Now, bearing that in mind, I don't take any trades on this scalper service in the first 5 minutes of trading generally, so nothing here for me yet, and I am really looking for a pullback prior to one of these entries. So really what I want to see is the stock move higher and then reverse down through one of those entries, not just slam down through in one big bar the way that it did. So I'll watch for a reversal, and if I get one, then we're going to see an entry. And if I do not get one, then we'll have to move on to another opportunity. There are other stocks on the plan that are setting up as well. For now, this is still the most likely candidate, but we'll see what happens over the next few minutes. We're starting to see some evidence of the market firming up. The futures are starting to get a little bit of upside, and it looks like we might see the pullback in SINA. And if we do, we're going to hope to get a move all the way up to this pivot and then down through the entry, or even above the pivot, above that 49.38 level. See if we get some resistance right there. There should be, because that's what those inflections on the trading plan are all about. Here we go. We seem to be heading higher. Again, the pivot line is a natural place to assume that this is going to pause, but that 49.38 level was definitely a significant area of price resistance in yesterday's session. When that happens, tends to be where a lot of bodies are buried, and if we get there again, I'll feel that much better about an entry, since we've already seen price inflect there once today. Cena opened right at that 49.38 level and collapsed from there down through the pivot. So if we get another move up there, that will act as sort of double confirmation for me that the move that I was expecting is going to be likely to occur. And after testing the pivot, we are in fact getting a move higher. Now it's come close enough to that 49.38 level that I will take the trade at 49.12 if we get back down there quickly, although it looks like we're going to hit 49.38. So hang on tight. It was a little bump above there earlier in the morning. If we get that, that's fine. If we don't, I'm going to look for a violation of the pivot and then an entry at 49.12. We are moving to that 49.12 level, and there we go. Now that the entry is triggered, the first place that price is likely to inflect is going to be at the 49.01 area that we identified on the trading plan yesterday. Looks like we're just going to pop through that. 48.87 is the primary entry for the position. Now, of course, we're already in the trade, so I'm not going to double up on the position or anything, but you've got the possibility, at least, that we're going to see an inflection there, that we're going to pause momentarily. That was an area that had significant price activity yesterday, so it could happen again today. Now, since we have this overlap between entries, what I like to do is say that if we get an extension, I will definitely stay with the position. So if we get down to 48.69 and price continues moving, I'll definitely try to target that 48.42 level. But if price reverses and gets back up to 48.69 at any point in that move, then I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug on the trade and sit back and hopefully get another entry opportunity on a pivot reversal, or possibly even a move all the way up to that 49.38 level again to trigger another position. So now we've touched the target. All right, and although it's headed towards this 48.42 target, it has reversed enough times and showed enough pressure on the book that I pulled the plug on the trade right around 48.69. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we don't get a pullback again and another entry opportunity. Most likely that would have to happen before the noon hour in New York for me to take the trade. Otherwise, I'll be back looking at this one in the afternoon. So we have had a move higher again, as you see here, and it's gotten just shy of that pivot line. Hasn't triggered an entry yet. I do want to see it bump off of some sort of resistance prior to taking a trade. Doesn't have to get all the way up to 49.38. But I would like to see a violation of the pivot and then a reversal down through that 49.12 entry, and that'll definitely get me back into the stock. So let's see what happens here. As we see, volume is dying off a little bit, but it's still pretty strong, and definitely strong enough to make for a decent trade. We've still got good range on these intraday bars, and definitely the possibility of adding another scalp position to the P&L. So here we've got, it is going up and bumping the pivot line. Let's see if we get a violation, if we get an attempted poke up and through there. I'd like to see something pull away just a little bit more than it has, but if it goes up and just touches and reverses again, I'll take a 49.12 entry here. There we go. Nice pop up through the pivot line. Now if we see a reversal down to 49.12 or even just a little bit above 49.12, I'll take that entry on a violation of this pivot line. So the entries and exits are not absolutes, but they're definitely a good proxy for absolute anyway. So 49.12 is my sort of drop dead number here. Had a little bit of slippage on the way in the first time, about 4 cents. But on this one, I don't care so much. The target is wide enough. You're talking about 42 cents per share on each one of these entries that you're looking for. That a little bit of a slip on the way in or the way out is not going to make a difference. There we go. We triggered in. Got a better fill this time. So 4 cents in my favor. 48.16.5. So we got a 165 entry instead of a 120 entry. That's good. Just saw that there was room in the wiggle, room in the spread for us to benefit, so why not? So this time we are again targeting 48.69. If it gets there and breaks through, that's fantastic. If it gets there and hesitates, especially if it's oscillating between 48.87, 48.69, then we know we'll take that trade off on the first sign of some strength, some green bar activity or something that tells us that price momentum is building to the upside. But for now, we are in at 49.16.5, 49.17. So if we get down to 48.69, we're going to have a nice additional profit here in our favor. So for the session, we could be looking at about 84 cents per share on SINA, and that of course is not the only trade on the plan that we have taken today. We've also got one in TripAdvisor, TRIP, the other trade on that page we were looking at earlier, and we'll look at that one in another video. 48.87, this is another entry zone. So according to the plan, if we would have had a pullback above this from below, so 48.87 would be an entry the same way that 49.12 was. In this case, 49.01 would act in the same capacity as the pivot line did, right? We'd be looking for a reversal off that resistance, but since we're already short the position here, I'm not looking to add to it. I am just curious to see what happens when this particular support and resistance level at 48.87 is violated. And once we get down into that 49 or 48.69 area, if we're lucky enough to get there, does price oscillate between the two? Do we see hesitation there? We know that yesterday's trading activity had quite a bit of volume between those two levels, so it's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on. We bounced back and forth between the target and that 48.87 entry a couple times, and in fact closed out the position. What's it do from here? I don't know. Probably the bias on the day is going to be lower, but this isn't really that kind of a trading setup, right? These are scalp setups. They're not like the around the horn trading plan where we're trying to target an entire move on a session. We're just trying to look here for intraday support and resistance plays, essentially things that happen based on price activity from the previous session, as well as a bias that occurs because of volume from the previous trading day. So there you have it. It's two trips to the profit target in SINA for the around the horn NASDAQ scalp strategy. If you're not already a subscriber and you'd like to subscribe, it's available at traderinsight.com, and of course there is the usual 60-day money-back guarantee. If it's not for you, if you decide it's not something you're interested in doing, or it's just not conducive to your style of trading, then you just let us know, and no problem, no hassles, and they will get you a prompt refund. I'm going to try to get a couple of these videos from the live trading room out every week, and hopefully that will serve as a learning tool for those of you who are on the service and are looking for a little bit of extra guidance. So for traderinsight.com, I'm Adrian Manns. Thanks for listening.